In the spring of 1901, a Greek sponge diver descended 40 meters into the Aegean Sea and surfaced pale and trembling. He told his crew he had found a graveyard of bronze and marble beneath the waves, the remains of a Roman merchant ship, swallowed by the sea around 85 BC. For 2 years, that is all anyone thought it was. Then, a museum cleaner in Athens noticed something the archaeologists had missed. Inside a barnacle-encrusted lump pulled from the sea floor, something had teeth. Bronze, triangular teeth, interlocking gears, Greek inscriptions. What he was looking at would become recognized as the oldest analog computer in human history, a device built over 2,000 years ago that calculated the motion of the sun, the moon, the planets, and the dates of eclipses with mechanical precision the world would not see again for 1,400 years. Here is the question: who built this? And how did a civilization we call ancient produce technology that belongs to a completely different era? The Antikythera Mechanism arrived at the National Archaeological Museum in Athens as a calcified lump. Nobody examined it closely for months. When it was finally cleaned, it broke into 3 main fragments, and what emerged was staggering. 79 surviving gear teeth, bronze wheels ranging from 1 centimeter to 14 centimeters in diameter, inscriptions on the casing that functioned as a user manual, and multiple pointers that, when the device was cranked, would track celestial bodies across the sky. This was not a clock. It was not a decorative model of the heavens. It was a functioning computational instrument. You turned a handle and it calculated. Modern X-ray computed tomography has allowed researchers to read the internal gearwork without touching the surviving fragments. And what the scans revealed changes everything we thought we knew about ancient technology. Here's the question no one in mainstream archaeology wants to answer. How do you build a precision computer before the invention of precision? The mechanism contained at least 30 interlocking gears, possibly more than 60. The front dial displayed the solar year, 365 days mapped across the 12 zodiac constellations. But a 2025 study proved something remarkable. The zodiac ring did not assign equal time to each constellation. It distributed the days unevenly, matching the real-world variation in the sun's speed through the sky. What astronomers call the solar anomaly. The ancient engineers who built this device understood that the sun does not move at a constant rate, and they encoded that irregularity into bronze. The rear dials tracked the 19-year Metonic cycle, the period after which the lunar and solar calendars realign. They predicted lunar and solar eclipses using the Saros cycle. They even marked the dates of the ancient Olympic Games. And nobody has ever explained how this knowledge was mechanically encoded by someone working before the birth of Julius Caesar. But then researchers applied a technique developed to study gravitational waves to a 2,000-year-old piece of bronze. In 2024, researchers at the University of Glasgow used Bayesian statistical analysis, the same method used to detect ripples in space-time from merging black holes, to study one specific component: the calendar ring, a circle of holes, each one punched into the bronze to mark a day. Their analysis determined the ring contained between 354 and 355 holes, an almost exact match for the lunar year. The radius of the whole circle was 77.1 millimeters, accurate to within 1/3 of a millimeter. The spacing between each hole, 0.028 millimeters. That is less than the width of a human hair. A bronze worker, working by hand over 2,000 years ago, positioned hundreds of holes with a precision that would challenge a modern machinist. And this was one component, embedded in a system of dozens of interlocking gears, each of which had to mesh within comparable tolerances for the entire device to function. Here's the question. If the craftsmanship was this extraordinary, why did it disappear? In 2025, a team of Argentinian researchers submitted a computer simulation that modeled the mechanism with a detail no previous reconstruction had included: the actual triangular shape of the gear teeth. Their simulation revealed something no one had expected. The device could only be turned approximately 4 months forward, before the gears jammed or disengaged entirely. The triangular teeth, combined with slight irregularities in gear spacing, created cumulative friction that locked the mechanism after sustained operation. This does not mean the device was a failure. It means the gap between what they conceived and what they could execute was enormous. The idea was centuries ahead of its time. The execution was not. No other device of comparable complexity has ever been found from the ancient world. Not one. The next known mechanical calendar appears in the Byzantine Empire, roughly 700 years later, a technological void the size of the entire medieval period. The Roman statesman Cicero wrote that Archimedes had built a device that reproduced the motion of the heavens. The inscriptions on the Antikythera Mechanism suggest it was manufactured in Archimedes' home city of Syracuse within decades of his death. His device has never been found. What we know is this: someone, working with hand tools and bronze, conceived of and nearly executed a machine that modeled the cosmos. And then the knowledge required to build it vanished from the human record for close to a millennium. The Antikythera Mechanism is not simply an artifact. It is a wound in the timeline of human technology. Proof that the capacity for mechanical computation existed far earlier than we believed, and that something caused that capacity to be lost rather than developed. The question that remains is what else was built? What else was buried, burned, or melted for scrap that we will never recover? If you think this is the only impossible artifact hiding in plain sight, stay with us, because what comes next is even harder to explain.